What's going on, guys? I'm out here in the messy street-inspired garage. It's looking like crap. I got stuff all over the place. I just cleaned the garage up the other day, and I feel like it's just a mess again. Every time I get into like a big project or multiple projects in a row, I get lazy and stop cleaning up the freaking tools. But anyways, what I'm doing today, I just got home from work, and I've been thinking about stuff to do to the car that's relatively cheap. I put a lot of money into the car in the past couple of months, and I'm just trying to be more conservative about what I'm buying for the car. So I've been trying to do free stuff or really cheap stuff, that sort of thing. So I had this laying around, and this is an extra, basically, I'll show you where it goes. So when I ordered my Perrin Radiator Shroud, this is how it looks, but it also came with this piece here, which is made to block off the intake duct. I don't know why anyone would want to do that. There may be applications where you don't need the factory duct to go to the box. You might have another way of getting air to it. But get the Perrin radiator kit. It comes with both this one, which blocks off this panel, or this one that has the trim and the weather stripping to allow this to be functional. And it always kind of bends down, and I always have to kind of pull it back up a little bit. You can see it's kind of pushed down in there, but anyways, that's not what I'm looking at today. What I'm looking at today is when I step back and I look at the engine bay. Now that I painted the caps black and everything's kind of wrapping together, I'm going to replace this with the, the Super Stick, dipstick, and then I'm going to replace this radiator cap. But a big eyesore when you look into this engine bay is, well, I wouldn't say there's any major eyesores at this point. Everything kind of is subtle. The thing I don't like is these stupid silver lines here for the AC. I'm thinking about trying to find some insulation or something to cover those up. But I have this extra piece, and I've been looking at it and thinking about something to try and do with it. And obviously everything in the engine bay, I have all this wrinkled black Perrin stuff, and it just all flows. And so I was like, well, how can I incorporate this into the engine bay? And I was like, well, this battery looks pretty ugly. And I just took this right here and I sat it like that. And I was like, whoa, okay. Kind of hides most of the battery. I would have to remove this to take off the terminals, but at first glance, that looks good. I was like, well, if I cut this up and I cut it to be square and fit right over the battery, and cut this to fit in here and all that sort of stuff, I think this could work. I think it could be a cool little battery cover. So essentially, to start this off, I'm going to measure the top of this battery along with the foam insulation on the side. So I have just a little bit hanging extra. We're looking at roughly 10 inches. What I'll end up probably doing is trying to make this the center point. If I can do that, and then I can mount that to that bracket, that would be ideal. I get the center right at the 5-inch mark and make marks. And of course the battery's dead. I actually just noticed something else as well, and I can probably use this as the mounting bracket. The Perrin Radiator Shroud has this piece here with 2 holes already drilled in it that I could cut off and use this to mount it on there. The only thing I'm gonna have to do is after I make all these cuts, I'm gonna have to take like touch-up paint or primer or something black that's close to this color and touch up all the edges, but it's not going to really be noticeable or anything. So that may just be our bracket right there. And that's all we're going to need for this bracket. I trimmed off the top and I drilled a new hole. And so now, whenever we get this trimmed, this will sit down and I can put a screw and a nut on this and secure this. And then I can drop this down and bolt it down. Finished cutting it, The top is anything that's kind of wavy. Everything else is pretty smooth. Everything's pretty smooth. So I just touched up all the edges, which is what you're seeing there on the edge. It isn't the cut, it's the touch up I put on. So here's what it is going to end up looking like. Obviously, not like nothing crazy, but it does cover up the battery from like most angles you look at it. I think it'll look a little bit cleaner than what it does now. A little update, I ended up taking the bracket down and putting it directly onto the support rod here. So everything's good on that department. I do have a nut behind this screw and it keeps getting loose, and I don't know, so I might take it off and try and find a better nut and bolt combo. But I put a Grimmspeed sticker on there, so it looks, you know, adds a little flair to the engine bay. I might put something else there, but I had a Grimmspeed sticker laying around. And then I found this, which is just some leftover weather stripping from the Perrin, not from this, but from the the freaking window vents. So what I did was I cut it to fit so I can put it on the top there, and it fits pretty loose because how thin this metal is, but I can glue it on, and that just adds a little bit more of a lip and kind of cleans up that edge, since that edge was a little crooked. So the only issue, I think this looks really good. I think it really adds a cool element to the engine bay, hides the hides the battery, and then I could even put like another sticker here or something. But what I am actually gonna try and do is find a way to cover up this side so you can see down in, but on this side you don't really need it because, you know, it's right up against the edge. So I cut it off of this. Yeah, here. This is part of the metal that I cut off of the Perrin cover. So I could either screw this in or 3M tape this or something. Sorry, I'm really shaky with the camera. I should have set the tripod up. And then I could do it like that. So it's not going to sit perfectly flush back here, but it's going to sit flush up front and sort of cover up that gap, which will definitely help with how it looks from the side angle. Okay, so I'm actually getting ready to glue the weather stripping on, and I trimmed this piece and cut that extra spot off and touched up the spots that were scraped up real bad. I mean, you're not going to really see them anyway. They're going to be down like that. Like that, somehow. Anyways, I did find an actual Allen key nut from one of my other Perrin parts, and I have a nut behind here, or an Allen key bolt, sorry, and I have a nut behind here, and the battery actually holds this nut in place perfectly while I tighten this, so I don't need to like get behind it anyhow. It just keeps that nut in place, and it'll almost make it look like a genuine Perrin part because all of their parts use Allen key bolts. So alright guys, so what you're looking at here is the finished product. I got the weather stripping glued on. I glued this panel on the side, touched up everything, so all the bare metal. Actually, I gotta hit this last edge on the back there. It's kind of ugly, but you don't see that. I had to cut that up so it didn't hit the terminal, the red positive terminal back there. And then, so that's all glued on. I mean, it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's super strong. So now we just sit this back here, slide this over, and that fits just tight up against the terminal there. And then once we bolt this thing down, it's gonna look great. Okay guys, here's the finished product. The only thing that I wish is that the battery was black. I can't flip the other side around because there's holes cut out in it. So I could either put vinyl or something over the battery or paint it or something, but I don't know. I think that just might be weird. I may do that. I don't know. I don't really want to paint my battery. That just seems really stupid. But anyways, I do have the whole thing covered now. It's not touching the terminals at all, if anyone was wondering and was concerned about that. And I took this is where I got creative. So I have a bunch of crap in here, and I had boxes that had my LEDs in them, and they came with a foam like this. which is the same sort of foam that came with the Perrin, what the hell you want to call this, radiator shroud. Same sort of foam. And so I cut it and filled out that gap with the foam. And then on this side, I filled out the gap with the foam in here. So you can't see through either side where it arches upwards. So now all you see is the red terminal in the back. And if you come around to the back side, obviously then you can see into the behind the battery. But I think this looks actually pretty cool. For literally just a bunch of stuff I had laying around the garage, I think I built a kind of cool little thing to hide the battery. So when you're looking at the car overall, now it just kind of, you know, blends in a little bit. Like I said, now I can put like another sticker here or something or whatever. Just covered up all the wiring on the battery, at least from the front side. Kind of cleaned it up a little bit. So I did take some touch-up paint and paint that bolt black because there was a lot going on there. So like I said, if that battery itself was black, I think that would look so much better. But it is what it is. I was bored, and so you may like this, you may think it's stupid, but either way, I did it, and I think it looks cool. So just a little bit of free time, some tools, and some stuff I had laying around the garage. So if you already had one of these Perrin covers and you're in the same boat as me and you had the extra piece laying around, you can build one yourself. Pretty simple. Well, I wouldn't say simple. It took me maybe an hour to do this, but still kind of cool nonetheless. Most of the time I was waiting for the battery to charge. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video. As always, I appreciate you guys checking it out and taking the time to watch. You know, if you enjoyed what you saw, please give me feedback, like, comment, subscribe, that sort of thing, so I know how I'm doing. And without having any feedback, it's hard to know whether I suck or I'm doing great. I don't know. So I appreciate the feedback I do get from you guys, and like I said, I'm just trying to find stuff to do to the car where I'm not spending $1,000 here, $1,000 there, and I'm getting to the point where most of the stuff that I want for the car is very expensive. So finding this, you know, just having this idea, and I was like, I'm gonna try it, and now seeing how cool it looks, I'm glad I did it. So anyways guys, I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video.